Interesting thing, and I mentioned that I'm a golfer, right? I love golf, and so as I was reading through this act, I was blown away with this one little thing, and I want to just throw it to you because if this is one of the yeah, I'll just show you because it is. Sin businesses, gentlemen and ladies, cannot be in opportunity zones. What are those sin businesses? A hot tub facility, a suntan facility, a golf facility? I mean, I was just like, what? But these are some of the regulations that you need to be aware of if you decide to invest in an opportunity zone. You can't put up a racetrack. I'm sorry. Anyway, this is just an awareness thing, and you know, there's going to be, I'm sure, more clarification around this, and what a hot tub facility is. Can you not like manufacture hot tubs, or is this just somewhere where people come and hang out and relax in hot tubs? I'm not sure, but anyway, that was just a fun aside. Okay, so these are the dates you need to be aware of. I was talking about the qualifying assets a little bit, short-term and long-term capital gains. You have 180 days to invest once you have taken those gains, and the patient capital that I mentioned earlier as well. If you keep your money in an opportunity zone fund for 5 years, you get a 10% tax forgiveness. Keep it there for 7, you're going to have 15% tax forgiveness. Keep it there all of 10 years, then all of your gains throughout that time, the gains from the taxes you would have paid, because your taxes are deferred, okay? When you choose to invest in an opportunity zone fund, your taxes are not due right now. They're due in about 8 years. After that 7-year period, if you hold on through there and you get your 15% tax forgiveness, the remaining 85% of your taxes are still due and payable to Uncle Sam. But your growth on that tax throughout that time frame is yours to keep, and yours to keep tax-free if you stay in the fund for 10 years. So win-win-win for the investor when it comes to tax benefits. That OZF investment, I mentioned it a little bit briefly earlier, but if you buy a piece of property, you have to revitalize it with the value that you paid for it initially plus $1. So you pay $100,000 for a property, you have to put $100,001 into revitalizing that property within a certain time period. So there's little things like that. You need to be aware of that 30 months, you know, because you have that much time to do the improvements. So these are just dates to be aware of, and the general concept. The deferral, when I said you still have to pay taxes, 2026 is when those taxes are going to become due. And if you noticed, I'm talking about these dates and these time frames, the 5 years, the 7 years, the 10 years, because the benefits are connected to these time frames. And that's really what is the potentially biggest problem with opportunity zone funds. Because liquidity is the big elephant in the room here, right? It's the problem. When you have a $3 billion fund like there is down in Tampa Bay, and you have one of those investors at the 5-year period when they've gotten 10% tax forgiveness go, you know what? I think I'm good with that. I got something else I want to invest in, and they pull, $700 million out of that $3 billion fund. Think about how many properties, how many businesses are going to need to be sold to make that investor whole if nobody else is coming into the fund. Think of what that might do to the community that those funds were invested into. So liquidity is really, really a potential huge problem. And at the Chamber, we see that the potential answer is tokenization of these funds. So have you guys heard of tokenized asset offerings? Nobody in the room. Oh, that's cool. Okay. This is something that may be the way these are defined, not just as security token offerings, but as tokenized asset offerings. So hopefully that's going to be a term you hear a little bit more as our ecosystem continues to mature. So looking at the potential, we have the World Economic Forum saying that we're going to have 10% of the world's assets in crypto. So think about crypto. I know there's a lot of definitional misnomers, and that may be one right there. What are crypto assets, and do security token offerings qualify as a crypto asset? I don't want to get into the weeds on that, but what we do have is the look at $10 trillion of financial products and services being digitized. So these are big numbers, and if you remember that number I threw out there with the big brain picture, what was that number? Who remembers? 6 trillion. Okay, so of that 10 trillion, I'd like to posit that potentially up to 6 trillion of that could be tokenized funds, and I would love to see that happen because I think that's going to help deal with the issue. And currently, we're struggling to find exchanges that are even compliant to host these tokens. So that's another issue that we're looking at. I was on the phone with one of the principals at T0, and I was talking to him about the potential of unaccredited investors having access to opportunity zone funds, and he said, we're not even going to be compliant until Q3 of 2019 to be able to onboard unaccredited investors. And so there's a lot of steps that are going to need to be taken, a lot of progress that's going to need to be made, a lot of legislative work that's going to need to be done to make this tokenization process work, to make it be legal and compliant and structured in such a way that there's a convenience for these funds to tokenize, to onboard onto an exchange, and to provide that secondary liquidity that we're looking for. So it's a process. Bancor, I don't know who's aware of bridge tokens. Is that enough? Okay, that's another fun thing that we have. You can the Bancor platform can actually take, and the BNT token itself can be a bridge between any other two tokens. So the reason I'm kind of pointing this out a little bit is the opportunity zone funds allow for you to go from one fund into another fund and maintain your tax advantage if it's done compliantly. So is that, thank you. So the transition from, say I'm invested in an Opportunity Zone fund in New York City, and I move out to the east, to the West Coast, and I want to be invested in the community in which I live. I could pull out of the fund that I am in currently in New York and invest in one that's out on the West Coast where I'm currently living, if I do it compliantly. I maintain all my tax benefits. So tokenization can make that be possible, in 4 minutes, whereas the current process would take about 4 months to be able to transfer from one fund to another. So it'd be interesting to see how the bridge token could help affect that, and I'm continuing to explore that, and I'd love anybody who that's kind of a fun thing for them to maybe come talk to me after and see what we can work on together here. So current security token exchanges that are working on becoming compliant. I'm just going to go through here real quick. Templum, actually, I talked to a lawyer who is an advisor for them, and she said they are fully compliant on all levels for security tokens, and just wanted to highlight that. I don't have that in writing anywhere else, but I have it from one of the lawyers that's on their consult team. So a bunch more of these are going to be created. It's just which one's going to be the best one, and how are you going to choose to participate in this? Is this something that we're going to get devs that are helping working on the smart contracts to make compliant tokens that meet all the requirements, that allow transfer from the fund, one fund to another? Are we going to have the smart contracts written in such a way that it's a push the easy button for the consumer, for the person bringing in their funds, for the fund manager? Right now, this ecosystem is needing to be built. It's not in existence. The pieces that make this process possible don't yet exist. So we're giving a shout out to the community. Let's engage, let's work together, let's tokenize Opportunity Zone funds so that this process that could really benefit communities can be supported with a secondary market with the liquidity that they need to not make these fund areas be devastated when we hit those 5, 7, and 10-year cliffs. So that's the shout out. Helpful tools will be built. I hope some of you are a part of building those, and we'd love for you to join the Blockchain Chamber of Commerce, continue the conversation, work together. And I always end my presentations with this 501c3 that I'm personally passionate about and help supports people that have been victimized and help them become ex-victims. And I think that's what we're doing with Opportunity Zone funds, is potentially bringing in the financing that can help victimized areas become ex-victims. And I believe with tokenization, we can help support that in a long-term format and not just for 5, 7, or 10 years. So thank you very much. If there's any questions. How much time do we have, Marie, for questions? 3 minutes. Sorry to cut it so short. Yes. Yeah, I mean, anybody can self-certify, so you can be your own fund owner, manager, but there are funds that are being set up that are recruiting investor dollars, and they do have managers, and there would be fees tied into that. So writing that into the smart contracts, that would be something that the fees going to the manager and the money, whether it's on a monthly, quarterly or annual basis going to the investor, all of those pieces will need to be written into the tokens or the smart contracts. Yes?
If you can move on to one of the previous slides we talked about.
Which? This one? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, awesome. Thank you for your time.